The point of this briefing was to give everybody in membership a common understanding of where we are, and also to take the first opportunity we've had over the past couple of years to be fairly transparent and specific as to what's going on in Los Angeles and the home markets of San Diego, Oakland, and St. Louis.
Depending on which owner you talk to, there seemed to be a sense that after this briefing that there would be one, if not two teams in Los Angeles as of next year. Is that a fair analogy?
Well, I think what you're reporting on is the sense of owners who've been at this meeting and some of whom have been involved in our briefings prior to this meeting. And so I won't take a contrary point of view to the sense of any owners. What I will say is that as the number of options has increased in how a team or teams gets to Los Angeles, the probability of success has gone up. And so we've had an increase in the probability of success, and the momentum has been continuing, so the probability is going up, and I think people are starting to develop a sense that we might be able to get something done.
You mentioned that there had been a market assessment done in Los Angeles. Now, what happened in the market assessment? Was it about the fan base, the sponsorships, what fans wanted? What was your overall sense when you got as it comes to Los Angeles?
The overall sense of our market assessment thus far, we're not fully completed in Los Angeles, is that there's a tremendous wellspring of support from NFL fans for multiple sites and multiple teams, and therefore the prospects in that market would be very, very good.
Multiple teams meaning two teams, we're not talking about three, we're talking about two teams specifically.
Well, the way we did the market assessment was to test the viability of different franchise names. It wasn't to ask, do you prefer one team or two? It was to ask, do you prefer Site A or Site B or Site C, Team A, Team B, or Team C, and get a sense for whether there were big distinctions between sites and teams. It wasn't to test whether or not two teams works and one team doesn't, or vice versa. And so what we found was an overall depth of the market for any of the teams to be very good, and possibly the market is deep enough for two teams.
In your opinion, which project is further along, the Carson project with the Chargers and the Raiders jointly, or Stan Kroenke and the Inglewood project?
In my judgment, the two projects are about in the same place, but for different reasons. So what do I mean by that? The Hollywood Park site is entitled, but it has the sponsorship of one club. The Carson project is on the way to being entitled, but has the sponsorship of two clubs. They both have large pieces of land that would lend themselves to significant NFL development. So I think they're both very, very good projects. There are pros and cons in terms of their speed and progress, but I think that there's a lot of work to do for both, and I think that's the way the teams feel. And we briefed it today. I think when they're comfortable with their own progress, they'll be briefing it themselves to their fellow owners.
As it comes to San Diego, when will you have the market assessment of San Diego? How long will that take? And when do you come to San Diego? When do you come to San Diego to meet with the mayor and meet with CSAG?
It takes about 4 to 8 weeks once we've launched to get a full picture on the market assessment, and our launch in San Diego is imminent. We'll be in San Diego in mid-April. We've booked a meeting with the task force, and we'll be talking to them on the phone before that, but mid-April we'll get there.
When you come to San Diego, what will you be doing? Will you tour the site that the CSAG recommended and that's going to be redeveloped in Mission Valley? How about downtown, which is what the Chargers want?
Yes, I'll make an effort to see all the potential sites that anyone thinks could be viable, whether that's the task force or the club. But the most important thing for my visit, the way I look at it, is not for me to put my own personal assessment of the site in place. I like to do that so I have a sense of the sites, but it's really to get a sense from the parties who are in the market, the task force, the leadership, and the club, as to what they think is possible and what they think is advisable. And the best way to do that is to be there and be with the people. I can't do that by reading the press reports. I got to be there.
If the Chargers have been outspoken, or Mark Fabiani has, about wanting the stadium downtown, CSAG recommended Mission Valley. Is that going to be? Do you think that creates a hindrance as to what happens next?
I think that that's up to the people of San Diego and the club. I don't want to speak for the club, and frankly, I don't want to speak for the people of San Diego either. What I will say is a successful project is based not only on financing, but getting all the parties who are participating in that project to like it and want it to succeed. If Party A likes it and wants it to succeed, and Party B doesn't, then that's not a recipe for success. So again, I don't want to speak for any of the parties involved, but I do want to say the recipe for success is to get everybody in the same tent.
Eric, I'll say that one thing this has done with 3 teams eyeballing Los Angeles, it's a flurry of activity. You've had more movement in San Diego in the past 3 months than you've had in the past 13 years. So what happens next? What's the timeline after you meet with San Diego? You come towards San Diego, I'd imagine St. Louis and Oakland. What happens next? What's the timeline?
Well, what happens next, I'm not certain I know. That to some extent is up to the parties that we don't control. Just speaking to the the San Diego market, that's up to parties we don't control. That's up to the people in San Diego and their leadership. It's up to the club, so forth and so on. But in terms of the timeline, what we briefed to the membership today is that we're trying to do all the work necessary, and the clubs are trying to do all the work necessary, and we're asking each of the 3 home markets of Oakland and San Diego and St. Louis to do all the work that they think is necessary to bring whatever proposals are going to be put in front of membership in the fall. And we could go slower, but we're aiming to get the work done sometime in the fall.
Do you think that up until this point now, the Chargers have exhausted every opportunity in getting a deal done in San Diego?
Marty, I can't determine that. Only the Chargers and the membership can determine that. I'm extremely respectful of each of these clubs that are trying to get deals done in their markets, and I've been doing this for enough years to have been through this with other clubs where it's taken years and a lot of heartache. The most important thing that we can do is bring the league resources and league creativity to the table for people who want it. And the clubs want it and the home markets want it, but at the end of the day, as I said before, Marty, everybody's got to get in the same tent for something to be successful.
What's the soonest that this could go to a vote?
I can't really answer that question. I'm not in control of that. I think that it's unlikely. Let me answer this the best way I can. It is unlikely that anything comes to a vote before the fall, because I just don't see the work being done. But I don't want to foreclose that because I don't control everything that gets voted on. Clubs can call for a vote according to the charter bylaws if they wish, but I just don't see the work being done. So that leads me to a probability of the soonest this gets done is the fall.
Can you have 3 teams in Southern California? And by that I mean 2 in LA and 1 in San Diego.
I think you can. Whether that's the best outcome or not, I think is probably a tough debate to win. That's not our aim. Our aim is to make each of the teams successful in their home markets and to develop new markets with high potential in case you can't realize success in a home market.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Marty.